Coming up on the premiere edition of Cannabis Coast to Coast News, California Governor Gavin Newsom shakes up the future of the hemp movement in his state with a proposal that would ban 90 to 95% of cannabinoid hemp products in California. Reaction from the US Hemp Roundtable's Kerry Hinkle in Washington, D.C.
You know, this is clear government overreach from Governor Newsom on an issue that we heard that he had walked into a liquor store or grocery store and saw some beverages being sold and was appalled.
Plus, 2 weeks ago, the DEA puts the brakes on the effort to reschedule cannabis for the next administration by postponing any hearing on rescheduling until after the November election. No surprise, according to NORML's political director, Morgan Fox.
And there's really no statutory time limit on how long this stage of the process lasts.
From the presidential campaign trail, former President Trump decides to support Question 3 for adult use in Florida, counter to his Republican governor friend, Ron DeSantis. And Berners Cookies brand inks the first wellness sponsorship with college football's USC Trojans. So what about the kids in college? Is it time to talk about rolling back the adult products age to 18 again? And MJ Biz Daily's magazine cover story in September analyzes the two candidates for president and who would be best for the industry, or is it just less worse? Plus, the race for the 25th legal state might be decided by voters in a number of states in the fall, with 11 asking their voters what they think about their medical or adult use program plans. Arkansas is one after collecting enough signatures to get their medical cannabis reform question on the ballot, while Nebraska follows by getting a medical program going in the state on their ballot initiative. But now it's time for the premiere of Cannabis Coast to Coast News with reports from NECANN in New Jersey to the Pacific Coast states of Washington, Oregon, and of course, the Golden State of California. The first Cannabis Coast to Coast News with Alaina Pinto is next.
We are Pro Cannabis Media.
Hi, everyone. This is the premiere of Cannabis Coast to Coast News, Pro Cannabis Media's weekly roundup of the cannabis industry. I'm Alaina Pinto. We start with the Fourth Circuit federal court decision over the definition of hemp-derived products. The federal court in Richmond, Virginia, handed down a ruling on a North Carolina lawsuit by an employee who had lost her job for testing positive for THC. The plaintiff, Tanya Anderson, explained that in off-work hours that she was using hemp-derived CBD products bought legally at a store. That hemp product, by the DEA's own definition, can only have 0.3% of THC tested during its dry weight. The cannabinoid in question here is THCO, a synthetically created chemical, and the court reprimanded the DEA's definition of hemp as complicated and inconsistent, especially when it comes to hemp products, and in this case, THCO. This ambiguity of what is legal or not all started with the Farm Bill of 2018. So this changes the rules again for the hemp industry, who continue to get kicked around by the feds and state governments, including California Governor Gavin Newsom, who out of the blue this week proposed the banning of all cannabinoid-derived products. Our California correspondent is Lisa Battista.
I'm Lisa Battista from the Flavor Co. with the California Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Governor Gavin Newsom is coming out swinging against intoxicating hemp with proposed emergency regulations that will halt the manufacture and sale of any products with a detectable level of THC or other cannabinoids, as well as limit package sizes to 5 servings and restrict sales to people 21 and over. This comes just weeks after Assembly Bill 2223, which proposed similar rules, died in committee. If the new rules go into effect, they will have a significant impact on both businesses and consumers in the state. More from Newsom. Over the past few weeks, law enforcement, in conjunction with his Unified Cannabis Enforcement Task Force, has cracked down on illegal operators in the state. Over $2.1 million of product was seized in raids in Antioch, LA County, and Contra Costa County. That total of $2 million plus includes over 1,300 pounds of flower, plus over 2,300 plants. On top of that, what do you think they found in these products? Mold. Not surprising with all the reports about tainted product that made it onto the shelves of both legal and illegal dispensaries in the state. Next, California State Police busted an organized robbery ring that had targeted 12 cannabis shops across 9 counties. Close to 24 arrests were made, and according to the investigators, the suspects are tied to Oakland street gangs. The group would steal the products, estimated worth over $1 million, and then sell them illegally. Now, more recalls for West Coast Cure, who just had 5 vape pens recalled by the Department of Cannabis Control in July. The new recalls include a Cure Pen premium THC oil vape cartridge and a live resin diamonds concentrate, both of which tested for the presence of chlorphenapir, a deadly pesticide. Dispensaries and consumers should check their batch numbers to ensure they don't have any of this contaminated product on hand. Finally, with all the disheartening news coming out of the Golden State, it's worth mentioning the anticipation for the upcoming Hall of Flowers, September 20th and 21st. Always a bright spot. We're looking forward to lots of positive vibes coming out of this event. That's this week's California Cannabis Report. I'm Lisa Battista from the Flavor Co. reporting for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Now we turn to Jimmy Young and his interview with Kerry Hinkle from the US Hemp Roundtable for more on the shockwaves in California hemp.
Thanks, Lisa. Joining me now is Kerry Hinkle at the US Hemp Roundtable. And the last time I talked to Kerry, it was right around Memorial Day. I believe it was a Friday when a representative of the U.S. House decided to throw in an amendment on the Farm Bill of 2024 that pretty much would have prohibited and ended the entire hemp industry. And here it is Friday after Labor Day, Kerry, and California Governor Gavin Newsom, decides to spring something on your state. You want to kind of give me a little background on why and how we got here?
Now, this morning, Friday, September 5th, 6th, Friday, September 6th, with the Governor Newsom just released a press release saying he's going to go through emergency regulations to implement those same restrictive THC limits that the legislature didn't pass. So rather than going through the normal business of order in California, introducing a bill, passing it through both chambers and having him sign it, now he's trying to implement it through some emergency regulations. If it goes through the Office of Administrative Law in California, then after 10 days, these become effective, and the public only has 5 days to comment after they've been posted on the website. As of 20 minutes ago, it's 11 Eastern. As of 20 minutes ago, they still weren't published. So this is all happening really quickly in live. I'm reacting, getting phone calls. We've been on the horn all day with our lobbyists in California to kind of react here. So, I think a lawsuit might be coming, Jimmy. This is clear government overreach from Governor Newsom on an issue that we heard that he had walked into a liquor store or grocery store and saw some beverages being sold and was appalled was the phrase I had heard. And, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Somebody's drinking a 5 milligram THC beverage instead of drinking wine. The world's going to end now, right? So, again, there are some provisions that we are supportive of, but the way that this is happening to come from one person's office, there's some other kind of political inside rumblings that we've heard of cannabis folks really in the ear of the governor's office that want to create this monopoly for them. And the last point I want to make, I know I'm kind of going on here, but we've been working this issue for a long time, Jimmy, and it's really frustrating, is that not all regulated marijuana companies are against us. But that system has failed in California. They've got 1,000 or 2,000 registered dispensaries. I think 300 pay their bills and taxes, and yet the hemp industry is the one thriving. We've got, especially on the beverage side of things. Your soccer mom isn't going to want to go into a dispensary where they're selling 40% flour and bud and all that good stuff. But you know what she might do when she's picking up her bottle of wine at Total Wine? She might stop by and grab that 5 milligram, 10 milligram low dose beverage. She might drink that instead, right? That same consumer might at the grocery store pick it up on a retail shelf right? And again, if you sell these to 21 and over and make them right, label them correctly, etc., this is an environment and a world where these products can thrive. And what's happening right now is they're trying to take a market that's winning, that consumers like, and they're trying to, have the government pick winners and losers and force all these products into a failing dispensary market it's just asinine, and it's really frustrating to see, Jimmy. So again, I should get off my soapbox here. But
no, you shouldn't. And I appreciate you sharing, because I hear the frustration, and it's the same frustration I share, because the law enforcement community, the law creative community, that our congressmen, our leaders in our federal government and in our state, cities and towns still consider anything with THC in it a drug. And again, that to me is the biggest hurdle to overcome, because it's a plant. It's like I keep comparing it to Robitussin. You can't go into a Walgreens or a CVS and buy Robitussin unless you're over 21 and walk out the door. Why can't they do that with hemp-derived products in gasoline stations, convenience stores, and supermarkets? Hello, it's the same freaking thing. It drives me nuts. It really does. And yet, it's still going, because everybody wants a piece of the pie, Kerry. Everybody sees money. We've got to get our share. And that goes down from the operators to the licensees to the regulators to the elected officials in our governments. You think you're frustrated? You work in the trenches. I just work in front of a camera and a microphone. You know what I mean? And I don't have to listen to anybody but myself, because I base it all on all the stuff that I read every week, 50 newsletters, talking to scientists, talking to botanists. And that's how we're going to segue into this next particular thing that happened this week, big week for hemp. What the heck is THCO? Okay, because I finally figured out what THCA is. I have a good definition of it, all right? When you inflame it, it gets you high, okay? That is pretty much the basics, right? But now a federal court in Virginia is basically saying the DEA's definition of hemp is ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. What are we going to do now?
Yeah. And I think it's in my non-lawyer opinion, this is a post-Chevron decision world, right? And so this is a circuit court saying, we don't have to recognize the authority of the DEA. They mentioned that in their answer there. So, that could bode well for a product like THCA flower as well. It's funny you mentioned that, because DEA also says THCA flower is illegal, but does this now apply to that same standard or not? So and what was announced earlier this week,
as Kerry Hinkle said in the interview with Jimmy, all his industry wants is to get some guidance on the regulations that can protect their already existing billion-dollar market. Unfortunately, federal lawmakers and departments like the DEA and the FDA continue to delay. A perfect example of that came 2 weeks ago when the DEA decided to postpone a rescheduling hearing until after the presidential election in the fall. Everyone on all sides of this issue involved with the cannabis sativa plant want more regulations and guidance. That is still confusing 6 years, though, after the passing of 2018 Farm Bill. All agree they want to put a stop to the proliferation of untested products available to young people at unlicensed convenience stores, gas stations, and smoke shops. Right now, that problem has subsided a bit in Ohio with the opening of adult use sales 25 days ago. That new state has now reached over $44 million in sales at a rate of $1.69 million a day. Certainly, by now, they have eclipsed over $50 million in sales, and yet are still a few million shy of the 71 million sales in 1 month in Missouri's first month. Of course, with Ohio coming out of the gate with over 100 dispensaries selling out of their existing medical dispensaries, it gave that state a great start. With more from Ohio, here's our new correspondent from the Buckeye State, Christina Brisson. The Ohio Report is sponsored by Yellow Labs, available at 40 dispensaries in Ohio. You can find out more at betterwaystothc.com.
In Loveland, Ohio, Emily and Mark seek to deepen their bond through intimacy. They turn to Yellow Labs Rose Oil Massage Cream with delivery technology, promising enhanced pleasure and connection. The cream ignites increased sensitivity and arousal as they apply it, kindling a shared passion. Excited by its effects, they find joy in shared closeness and moments of unity.
This is Christina Brisson with Over the Top Renovations with your Ohio Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. This week, one of the first things we're going to touch on are the fines that adult use recreational facilities received just the past few weeks. Some of the reasons for those are Greenleaf, or the botanist, was fined for advertising on an ice cream truck. Bloom was fined for advertising on something larger than 16 by 18 not attached to their building. And then Green Thumb was fined for emailing their already existing medical patients that adult use sales would be available 2 months earlier than they actually went into effect. Then we'll touch on the cannabis sales for the week. We started our first week at $11.5 million, and we've wrapped up our third week at $10.5 million. Still going strong with those Ohio cannabis sales. Also, for upcoming events, please go online and check out with Google and see what's going on in Canton and Cleveland in the next couple of months. We'll work on uploading these to our events page. Number of things going on, very affordable, good ways to get involved. Also, next week, I'll be attending a panel discussion here in Columbus about adult recreational use, and we'll go over some more details of some of those laws and what we actually are allowed to do here in Ohio. And I'd love to hear from you on what you want to know. And one more thing I want to touch on regarding to events is that there was an event that was canceled a few weeks ago, and I want to touch on why that was. That was for CannaFest Ohio. The Summit Agricultural Society, per their website, represented a breach of contract by saying they own the land when they actually didn't. So now the whole festival was canceled, and all that work went under the drain. That is your Ohio State Cannabis Report, and I am Christina Brisson with Over the Top Renovations, and this is Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
The Ohio Cannabis Report is supported by Yellow Labs and BetterWaysToTHC.com. Search for Yellow Labs near me and find one of 40 dispensaries in Ohio carrying these amazing mists and creams.
A rather ugly incident in Texas last week serves as a great example of the gray area in the legal definition of hemp that the public has embraced since the 2018 Farm Bill. The problem, of course, has been twofold. One side is when infused in edibles and made to look like candy, it's getting in the hands of young people under the age of 21. On top of that issue is that it's untested and available in gas stations, convenience stores, and smoke shops. One state that has embraced the hemp-derived cannabinoid is Texas. Cities have taken decriminalization into their own jurisdictions to bypassing state laws. A week ago, local Texas law enforcement combined with federal DEA officers raided an operation in Allen, Texas, just north of Dallas. And that's where Lisa Williams lives and embraces the Texas culture.
I'm Lisa Williams with the Toke Agency, bringing you the Texas Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. This week, we are heading to Allen, Texas, where the only thing higher than the temperature is the THC levels in some of the local vape shops. That's right. In a series of raids straight out of the Wild Wild West showdowns, the Allen Police Department teamed up with the DEA to crack down on 9 stores accused of selling potent THC products to minors. Apparently, some of those products tested anywhere from 7% to 78% THC. I'm no scientist, but 78% sounds like it would make you higher than a kite in a Texas tornado. Now, Allen's vape shops and CBD shops have already been warned back in May. The police chief sent them a friendly reminder, which basically was a Texas version of y'all better get your act together. These stores were told the products didn't meet the legal limit of 0.3% THC. But it looks like some of these shops were playing a little too loose with the rules. So after a few undercover operations, yes, the police actually sent in minors to see if they could buy these products, because why not add a dash of sting operation to this Texas drama? The hammer came down. We're talking seizures of not only THC-laden products, but also cash registers, computers, and probably a few receipts from last year's inventory. 5 people were arrested, leaving the vape shop owners none too pleased. But hold on to your cowboy hats, because it ain't that simple. These shops are firing back with some legal heat of their own, claiming they've been playing by the rules all along. A lawyer representing 8 of these family-owned businesses said the police and the DEA overstepped their authority, accusing them of using intimidation tactics to scare off the legal hemp industry, which, let's be honest, has been living in a gray area here in Texas ever since hemp was legalized under the 2018 Farm Bill. And speaking of hemp, this whole saga is just the latest chapter in Texas's ongoing THC soap opera. Remember, Delta 8 THC, the stuff that's technically legal but feels pretty close to the real deal, was almost banned in Texas, but this lawyer won a court case last year to keep it on the shelves. So what's next? The police say they're going to keep the pressure on the shops selling non-compliant products while the hemp shops are fighting tooth and nail to prove they're innocent. Y'all, it's hotter than a Texas barbecue out there. Stay tuned for more updates as this legal rodeo continues. I'm Lisa Williams with the Toke Agency, bringing you the Texas Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
That'll do it for the A block of Cannabis Coast to Coast News. A reminder that if you want easy access to our news show every week, the easiest way is to download our free app, PCM TV. It's now available on the App Store and Google Play. Soon, you'll hear more about promotions too, as we start to build more distribution outlets and platforms carrying our content. When we come back, Virginia's Joe Parsons talks with 3 people on FM radio in his state who host a pro cannabis radio show. Plus, later, we have some highlights and flashbacks from PCM founder Jimmy Young's live birthday stream from the THC Golf Open. Cannabis Coast to Coast News continues after this.
Ready to take your craft to the next level? Imagine faster extractions, purer products, and more profits. Sounds good, right? At Pure 5 Extraction, we've revolutionized cannabis extraction with our game-changing technology. No solvents, no heat, just the cleanest, most natural process on the market. Whether you're a boutique grower or a large-scale operation, Pure 5 has the tools to elevate your business worldwide. Visit pure5extraction.com today. Pure 5 Extraction, because your plants deserve the best.
Welcome back to the B block, or second section of our new Cannabis Coast to Coast News show. I'm Alaina Pinto. Since we're releasing this show on Monday, September 9th, we're all wondering if the issue of cannabis will come up in this week's highly anticipated presidential debate with Republican Donald Trump and Democrat VP Kamala Harris. That could be our lead story in next week's show. But this month, MJ Biz Daily's Chris Roberts analyzes both presidential candidates' history with cannabis and shares his thoughts on which one he thinks will do the best for the federal reform movement and why the choice might not be the best candidate, but the less worse one. You make your own decision on that, though. Our man in the nation's capital is Andrew Behringer, and this week he takes a look at the 2 presidential candidates and what might the future look like no matter who wins the White House. Here he is.
I'm Andrew Behringer, and this is the Washington, D.C. report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. As we approach the 2024 presidential election, the stakes for cannabis policy have never been higher. Vice President Kamala Harris states she is for federal legalization. Now, on the other hand, former President Donald Trump's stance is characterized by what some call beneficial neglect. While his previous administration didn't hinder the creation of adult use markets, concerns still remain about the potential delays in implementing reforms if he is reelected. Now, if we look back, the Biden administration has proposed rescheduling cannabis from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3, a move that could change the cannabis industry forever. Now, remember, this improvement would ease tax burdens on cannabis businesses, boost investment and research, and reflect growing public acceptance of cannabis use. Adding to the mix, the composition of Congress after the upcoming elections will play a pivotal role in shaping federal cannabis reforms. Key committee memberships will determine which bills move forward, making every Senate and House race significant for the future of cannabis legislation. Please go vote. For the first time, neither candidate oppose a threat to cannabis policy. As America heads to the polls in 2024, the future of cannabis policy hangs in the balance. Sometimes you just have to throw your hands up and say, Jarvis, close the mask. That's the Washington, D.C. report. I'm Andrew Behringer, reporting for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
Here's a pop quiz of your cannabis knowledge. What cannabis-related product is the fastest growing sector of the industry? Beverages? No. Plain flour? That's still responsible for half the market, but not growing. It's the pre-roll phenomenon. Back in the day of the OG, our PCM founder, Jimmy Young, talks about that your choice of consumption was to roll your own, use a pipe, a water pipe, or a bong. And now, thanks to automation, more than $4.1 billion of pre-rolled joints were sold over the past 18 months, according to a new Headset report. It's because no one knows how to roll their own. That total for pre-rolls sold is now 15.9% of the total market. That report was funded by Custom Cones, who commissioned Headset to analyze the sales data over the past year and a half. Now, let's head out to Oregon, where a reform program instituted in 2020 has failed terribly. Here's Marianne Cursetjee, followed by Matthew Friedlander in Washington State.
I'm Marianne from Alibi with the Oregon Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Last week, Deschutes County Sheriff made 2 arrests and seized cannabis, firearms, currency, and psilocybin from an illegal operation in Central Oregon. There were 2 properties associated with this investigation. This was a long-term investigation involving many agencies. Next, Measure 110 was passed in 2020, which decriminalized small amounts of drugs in Oregon. This experiment was modeled after Portugal's laws and was sold to voters as a way to get people the care they need and also as a social equity solution. Unfortunately, the behavior and mental health resources never materialized. Fentanyl took over the streets, doses soared, and hard drugs were recriminalized last week. Sadly, Oregon still ranks low on resources available, and the homeless problem continues to run rampant. Finally, some good news. The exchange is happening this coming week. It's a B2B event to bring wholesale buyers and sellers together and build community. Over 2 days, retailers will meet with growers and manufacturers to find new products and build relationships. That's the Oregon Cannabis Report. I'm Marianne from Alibi for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
Hi, my name is Matthew Friedlander, coming to you from the owner's office here at Skagit Organics with the Washington State Cannabis Report for Coast to Coast Cannabis. Today I've got some information for you regarding some open rule sets and a few cannabis events that will be coming up here in the state. So the Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board has several rule sets open right now, but most notably, they have a rule set open that will move the accreditation for testing labs from the LCB to the Washington Department of Agriculture. Many folks in the industry here are supportive of that effort. There are also rules open concerning the disposal of cannabis waste. Currently, we are not allowed to compost our waste or sell our waste. A new law was passed last year that would allow both of those things to happen, and the LCB is forming rules around that new situation. They also have rules open concerning flexible payment terms from retailers to producer processors. Many people were fearful that this was going to allow retailers to pay on terms. If anyone's paid attention to what happened in California with many retailers just not paying their bills and waiting long enough that the grower or the manufacturer just went out of business. This does not go that far. This only allows the retailers a single day to mail a check to the producer processor as opposed to giving that check at the time of delivery. So hopefully this rule will not lead to situations like we have seen in other states. Turning to events, the Addictions, Drug, and Alcohol Institute has their symposium happening on September 19th in Seattle. This is a group that has referred to people in the cannabis industry as predators and continues to push the narrative that high use of cannabis leads to psychosis. Here at the Cannabis Alliance, we have been encouraging people to show up to this event in person. I will be attending that event myself. It's important that people from our industry are at events like this in situations where the environment may not be super friendly to us, but it's important that we show up and are able to represent our side of the situation. Northwest Leaf will also be holding their event called Tannins and Terpenes in Seattle on September 21st. This is an event that explores the wonderful use of terpenes outside of cannabis in mocktails and drinks of that sort. Also, the Cannabis Alliance hosts several virtual events that are open to anybody. I would encourage you to visit thecannabisalliance.us and click on our calendar to look for our happy hour event. And if anyone is interested in talking with our staff at the Cannabis Alliance, we have open office hours every Monday and every Friday starting at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's what I've got for you out of Washington State. My name is Matthew, reporting for Coast to Coast Cannabis. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
There are now 5 states in the U.S. that have ballot initiatives impacting the cannabis rules, regulations, and legalization of the plant medicine. Some, like Arkansas, are expanding their already existing medical program, while the battleground state of Florida is spending millions on the Yes on 3 initiation by Smart and Safe Florida. That side of the issue got an unexpected supporter this week in former President Donald Trump. The Republican nominee who came out in favor of the initiative, needless to say, fellow Republican Governor Ron DeSantis was not pleased that the Donald decided to side with the group that he wants defeated at the polls. However, one guy who was happy with that development is our new Florida correspondent from that state, the master gardener himself, Jeff Aker.
Donald Trump finally show up and endorse Amendment 3, saying that it would be good for America, and it's not good to ruin people's life for minor possessions of cannabis in Florida. There's a couple different polls that have come out. One's running right under 60%, and the other one's coming right over 60%. Got a lot of money flying around on the bill, but we need it to pass. And I will keep you updated about these Amendment 3. I need all my fellow Floridians to vote yes on Schedule 3. We need to change. It is not good to be caught with possession of cannabis in Florida, one of the strictest laws in Florida, or one of the strictest states in the country. So come back. I'm Jeff Aker, Master Gardener, with your cannabis report from Florida for Coast to Coast Cannabis News.
Our Virginia correspondent, Joe Parsons, continues to carve out a nice following in his new home state. He tracked down the hosts of a show called Coffee Talk on FM 97.5. 3WV Rocks. Here's Joe and his report this week, and maybe him live on the radio.
I'm Joe Parsons with the Virginia Cannabis Connection, and this is the Virginia Cannabis Report on Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I've got something a little special for you all this week, as this is the premiere episode of the all-new Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Our name might have changed from We Talk News, but our message in bringing the latest in cannabis news and stories from the ones who make a difference has not. A few months ago, I was invited to the beautiful city of Charlottesville to appear on the legendary radio station 97.5 3WV's cannabis-friendly podcast, Coffee Talk. They let me talk about Pro Cannabis Media, and I have to say, we've grown a little bit since then, so I'd like to think that they helped. So I couldn't think of a better way to kick off the all-new show than by telling everyone from coast to coast about Coffee Talk. I'm talking with the creators of Coffee Talk, Don, Seth, and the host, the one and only Ashley D. from 3WV. So thanks for being with me on the couch today. And the first thing, Don, how did Coffee Talk go from a concept to the show it is now?
Well, I think that, it's been 4 years now, and 4 years we've been advertising with 3WV for years and years and years. And at some point we realized that legalization was pending. People were talking about, things were changing, and there were so many questions people have. And you can come to higher education. Of course, we're known for answering questions, but then we realized not everyone can come to the store and spend an hour with us and ask all the questions. So maybe we can find a way to encourage people to, on their own free time in the evening when we're not open, be able to get these answers. And we, thought, podcast would be the answer. And we had been advertising with Ashley at 3WV for, 6 years already by then. And we talked with them, and basically they were like, yeah, this seems like a good fit for both of us. So, hence it was born.
Outstanding. Now, Seth, besides being a fun show, people can learn a lot and get real information from this broadcast. Do you think that this show helps change some of the negative views that people have about cannabis?
Well, I sure hope so. We've done a lot to try and provide factual, high quality, educated information. We've brought a lot of guests on the show, a lot of activists and cannabis, experts, people in the field, a lot of people who are business owners and legal minds and advocates, and just really well-informed people, and give them the opportunity to speak their minds, present their ideas, and share as much information as they can. So I sure hope that we've made a big difference.
Ashley, do you have any favorite guests, memorable moments?
I kind of like Seth and Dawn. I like those personal stories where it's really helped people. Scott, Linda, what was the nurse that we had in as well? I'm not great with names, but
Patients at a time.
So we had a nurse come in, and she had a lot of relevant things to put forth. We've had Lennis in here too, and she's done a lot, with government and such. But honestly, I think I like just being in the radio industry. I like our music. We bring in musical entertainment sometimes too. So we've had the South River Strings and some other just
cheap whiskey.
Cheap whiskey. I like those guys.
Charged up valve.
But that it just kind of takes it to another level. So it shows the dynamic. We're here for providing information, being just I guess facts, and we present our opinions a lot, and we're not shy about saying, hey, this is what this says, but this is how we feel about it. And that's, it needs to be a conversation in society. People need to talk about it. It can't be so black and white. And so I like just having all these different dynamics and bringing in different people from walks of life. So.
Well, fantastic. So I guess I definitely have my work cut out for me, because I noticed that my name wasn't on any of those lists. However, there has been a lot going on lately in the news. So if you guys decide one day to put me back on your show, the news will rock, and I promise I'll be more memorable next time. That's going to do it for this week from the Virginia Cannabis Connection and reporting from Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I'm Joe Parsons. Until next time, everyone, stay lifted.
That'll do it for the B Block this week. Cannabis Coast to Coast News continues with a visit to Atlantic City, New Jersey for the NECANN trade show down there over the past weekend. Both Andrew Behringer and Joe Goldsberry were there. and it's going to be a good story coming from them. But it's time to flash back and tee it up for cannabis at the 3rd annual THC Golf Open this past week in Uxbridge, Massachusetts. You want to see that? Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Coast to Coast News.
Yes.
It's a whole new world of weed out there, isn't it? Everyone is learning new ways to titrate, ingest, consume, imbibe, and engage with this plant medicine we call cannabis. Now, let me tell you my cannabis story. You know, I've had 4 major surgeries in the past 23 years and suffer from osteoarthritis with a variety of metal parts in my body and one on deck. Now, thanks to those chronic pain issues, I've been a medical patient in Massachusetts for almost 10 years now. I remember my first trip to a dispensary just outside of Boston, and I told the bud tender I didn't want to smoke it anymore. So I tried edibles, then tinctures, then vaping, and now if I'm going to smoke, I only use the Weegits filtration system. What? The Weegits.com, Weegits, that's weed, W-E-E-D, G-E-T-S.com, is where you'll find the planet's coolest product that cools the smoke from everyone's favorite flower. The guy that started this was a pretty good medical device manufacturer, and he created this maze pipe that cools the smoking process from 1300 degrees Fahrenheit upon inflammation down to just 90 degrees when it reaches your mouth. That's right, 1300 down to 90. That's why this maze pipe is amazing. Now, add in the code of PCMTV and you get 15% off. So just go to Weegits.com and check out the best way to enjoy a cooler smoke with less coughing and hacking and more peace of mind.
Welcome back to the C Block, or final section of Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I'm Alaina Pinto. Earlier in the show, we told you we were announcing our new free app called PCM TV in the App Store and Google Play. And over the next few months, we are bringing back a promotional contest that we conducted back in 2020 when shows like Cannabis Chat, The Green Rush, Calling All Growers, and Weed Talk Live filled up the 24 hours a day. 7 days of content Pro Cannabis Media produced as a way to survive the pandemic. We call this promotion Come Out of the Cannabis Closet and Tell Us Your Cannabis Story. What role has the plant medicine played in your life? You can now go to our website, procannabismedia.com, and on the homepage, there is now a section right below the most current news show where you can submit your own cannabis story. We want to hear it. Every month, we will review the entries and pick 4 finalists, and then our subscribers will get to pick the winner, who will receive a great prize, plus be featured on our Cannabis Coast to Coast News, if you'd like. For the past few months, though, Tina Tasaka has been covering the evolving scene in Nevada with a base in Las Vegas, okay? Now she'll be adding coverage of the emerging markets coming out of the sovereign reservations of Indigenous people who are native to this continent. Here's Tina.
I'm Tina Tasaka with 420 Technologies, and this is the Nevada and Tribal Nations Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. This is the new format as we are doing some rebranding, and I've added Tribal Nations to my news report. On Tuesday, the Indigenous Cannabis Industry Association, ICIA, and Wisconsin Tribal Task Force on Cannabis launched the Wisconsin Wellness Campaign, advocating for the legalization of medical cannabis in Wisconsin. Currently, Wisconsin is the only state in the upper Midwest without legal cannabis, creating high demand for out-of-state marijuana. Michael Decora of the Tribal Task Force highlighted the lack of a state bill and the criminal risks citizens face to obtain needed medicine. Health advocates, including the Ho-Chunk representative Kristen White Eagle, shared personal stories underscoring the benefits of medical marijuana, while research on its effectiveness for PTSD remains mixed. Many veterans report positive effects. The Ho-Chunk Nation has decriminalized marijuana on tribal lands, though federal regulations still pose challenges. Rob Pirro of the ICIA emphasized the need for regulated access to medical cannabis, avoiding criminalization. Cannabis advocates like Josh and Megan Lowe also support legalization, citing its benefits for their daughter's seizure control. Senator Melissa Agard supports the initiative, noting that legalizing and taxing cannabis could generate significant revenue and improve public safety, echoing successful examples from neighboring states like Illinois and Michigan. And in Nevada, is the summer musical festival season over? Absolutely not. Mark your calendars for the 6th annual Nevada Cannabis Awards Music Festival, happening September 28th from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. in downtown Las Vegas. This star-studded event will celebrate and reward the best in cannabis industry, with a special focus on those who have made a significant impact in the Las Vegas cannabis community. Tickets can be procured at getallacessusa.com, and VIP tables and packages are available. That's it for the Nevada highlights and Tribal Nations. I'm Tina Tasaka with 420 Technologies and Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
A little bit of NCAA sports history was made this week when one of the most well-known brands in cannabis and CBD, Cookies, signed on as a sponsor of the University of Southern California's athletic teams. Rapper Burner is the co-founder and CEO of the wellness brand of products, and that ad age has called one of America's hottest brands. Of course, with the definition of what is legal or not legal, CBD or not CBD, tested or not tested, the timing is very interesting in the Golden State, considering the ambiguities of the 2018 Farm Bill and now their Governor Gavin Newsom trying to ban all these products. The sponsorship is supposed to be a multi-year deal, but neither side is sharing the size of the financial commitment. In the meantime, merger and acquisition continues inside the cannabis industry as many businesses are failing and looking to cut their losses. That is true in Arizona, where Karen Black reports on a company that is looking to move in on some of the cannabis distressed assets. Some of the cannabis distressed assets in Florida. Here she is.
I'm Karen Black from Greenfinger Consulting with the Arizona Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Arizona's Mint Cannabis has partnered with Shango from California to purchase the Cannabis Coast 14 medical dispensaries in Florida for $5 million under NewCo Mint Shango JV. The deal also includes the licenses as well as cultivation and manufacturing operations in Alachua and Arcadia. The Phoenix New Times published a lengthy piece about the Arizona Dispensaries Association, ADA, and how it has emerged as a powerful lobbying force here in the Grand Canyon state. It represents major cannabis companies and has been influencing legislation and market dynamics since adult use was legalized in 2020. According to the article, the ADA's influence has led to increased market consolidation, with the top 10 dispensaries controlling about half the market by 2022. That means smaller cultivators often pay substantial monthly fees to dispensaries just to operate. The ADA has actively opposed various reform bills, including measures for interstate commerce and stricter product testing regulations. They've also sought to maintain control over related markets, such as hemp-derived products. Critics argue that the ADA's actions prioritize the interests of large corporations over small businesses and consumers. The organization has made significant political donations to both major parties, seemingly to maintain its influence. This situation has raised concerns about the future of Arizona's cannabis industry, with some calling for more balanced representation and reforms to to benefit smaller businesses and consumers. Speaking of lobbying, the Arizona chapter of NORML held its monthly meeting September 3rd at the cannabis-friendly Clarendon Hotel in Phoenix. In other news, Gateway Community College announced it has partnered with cannabis education company Green Flower to offer non-credit cannabis certification programs. Courses range from 9 weeks to 6 months. They're all online, and they cover areas such as horticulture, extraction, product development, and retailing. And finally, Trulieve is in the Arizona news for a couple reasons. It has relocated one of its dispensaries in Tucson and would be holding a grand opening September 13th for the Menlo Park location. It is also the exclusive outlet for Grün's 10-pack mega medical edibles. That's this week's Arizona Report. I'm Karen Black from Greenfinger Consulting reporting for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
Since the state of New York opened its adult use legal sales of cannabis, the Office of Cannabis Management has taken quite a bit of heat from the governor and their state legislature. Now they've decided to put even more regulations on their growers. In this case, it's good for the environment, okay? Something the industry has been ignoring compared to their focus on profits. New York is telling its farmers that starting in 2025, they will have to start tracking their energy consumption. The software is called PowerScope, and the idea is to reduce the environmental footprint both for the medical and adult use operations. There's only one 100% solar-powered grow facility in the United States, and it's Solar Therapeutics in Somerset, Massachusetts. And that's where their dispensary and a 67,000 square foot grow house operates. Considering that 10% of the entire state's electrical grid is taken up by the grow industry in this state, going solar should become more of a priority in the industry and not just an exception. In Massachusetts, a local brand called Fernway has placed containers for recycling their disposable vapes in a variety of dispensaries where their products are sold. As the industry matures, some in the industry are starting to take notice of their environment, not just their bottom line. This practice has been going on in Humboldt County, California for generations, where the conditions are perfect for growing outdoors. Canada has a few solar-powered grow houses in Western Canada, but the majority of the indoor growing cultivation is still driven by traditional power.
This is Debi Facey with your Canadian Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. So what we have in Canada was two main stories. Our first story was almost like an op-ed where a gentleman was speaking about the failure that the cannabis industry here in Canada unfortunately has been going through. And this is something that I can relate with and definitely do agree with in some aspects, especially when it comes to the potency of the cannabis that we are selling today, which is much higher than what most of us are used to, and the amount of people that are actually visiting the hospital. And this isn't only due to cannabis, but with the rise in the usage of of drugs, I should say, overall, cannabis has been looped into that, I want to say, bracket. And that's unfortunate due to the fact that for us as Canadians, we did promise not only accountability, but the safety when it came to our consumers when we were going to be legalizing. That being said, we all know that economically that we had projected tax revenues and they'd fallen short, and many businesses are struggling today. And we continue to highlight the approach of health, safety, and the industry sustainability, and that is something that I hope we continue to promise. For our next story is the awesome, sadly say, Tokyo Smoke closing 29 of their locations in Canada due to a restructuring, rebranding, realizing that maybe they kind of pushed too, I want to say, much in the beginning when it came to opening up stores, but everyone learns that, and you can't blame anyone for that because everyone thinks proximity is something that they don't take into consideration, which is fine. But being said, this is Debi Facey with your Canadian Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Peace.
I'm Doug Miller from Highland Wall Street with this week's Cannabis Stock Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast. Ascend Wellness Holdings announced leadership changes. John Hartman will no longer serve as CEO, and the CFO has been terminated immediately. The board of directors has appointed Samuel Brill, current director, as CEO. The co-founder and current director has been appointed as president, and the chief accounting officer has been appointed as the new CFO. So let's see how all these changes affect the stock chart. It's trading around 92 cents and it's pulling back. So watch for that bottom and for it to reverse back up, and trade smart and always lock in these profits because this market is a little rocky and crazy right now. And that's this week's Cannabis Stock Report. Reporting for Cannabis Coast to Coast, I'm Doug Miller.
This weekend, NECANN ran its annual trade show in New Jersey in Atlantic City, and now with New Jersey's cannabis market growing in size, so is the NECANN show as they expand outside of New England. Jill Goldsberry is from New Jersey, and she made the rounds at the trade show this weekend and even ran into a local Massachusetts legend, Devin Alexander from Rolling Relief, one of the most successful delivery services on the East Coast. Devin's personal story should be shared with all emerging states. 12 years ago, he was arrested in the Bay State for possession, and now he's running a successful business thanks to the opportunity that social equity offered him. Here's Jill's interview with Devin from the floor of NECANN.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Jill from New Jersey's Coast to Coast News with PCM TV. I am here at the Wake and Bake for Butter Cake, and we got a special guest here from out of town, from Boston. Can you believe it? We are here with Devin from Born to Roll Delivery Service. What's up, Devin? How you doing?
Not too bad. It's good to be down here in Jersey for the first time ever.
I mean, do you guys love his accent? I mean, it's great. So, what are you doing here in Jersey?
Just came down to support some homies. My man Tahir Johnson, the homegirl Matha, Nadir, see Hope Wiseman speak, James Jackson with Yer, just all those peeps. I don't got any business things going on. I'm just here to show love.
Okay, awesome. And I would love to know, since you are here in New Jersey with us, and you guys have had the rollout in mass for a while.
Yeah.
What do you think of the New Jersey rollout?
I think it's great. I think it's going a lot more smoothly than it did over in Massachusetts. I think people are getting open faster for sure. And they have the opportunity to learn from our mistakes, and I think that's vital.
But you guys have really good product up there, and it's a lot cheaper than over here. So, I'm wondering, I hope at some point the situation changes and we can maybe, match. Because I know a lot of people go to Boston just to, stack up. So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, it's only a matter of time. The market will definitely correct itself. Once you start to see more individual craft growers come online here in New Jersey, it's definitely going to change the game, 100%. And that's how it was with us. It just took some time, right? Yeah. That's the biggest part of the process, getting licensed. It's very capital intensive, building out your facility, going through all the steps, jumping through all the hoops. Yeah. But I'd say 2 years from now, you guys should be popping. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And I know you're one of the first minority business owners in Boston to have a delivery service. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes. So we're actually in a city called Newton. It's 10 miles west of Boston. So we were the first Black-owned, first social equity, first delivery service. When it came to getting our license, we were number 6 in the whole state.
Wow.
So very exciting. We've been operational for a year and a half now. Last year in August was our best month ever. So I'm just trying to grow, get better month over month.
Okay. I just met a couple of business owners here that started a delivery service in Jersey. So any advice?
Focus on your SEO. SEO is everything. Search engine optimization, programmatic ads. If you're doing interviews with any media outlets, make sure they're including hyperlinks when they name your company. Definitely when they say the name of the company, include a hyperlink so people can click on it and go right to your website. That's very vital for sure.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you very much, Devin. So we've got some good advice for anybody out there that wants to start a delivery service. You might want to take those tips. And I'm Jill from Coast to Coast News, New Jersey, and we're out.
And finally, tonight, we give the last word on the premiere of Cannabis Coast to Coast to the founder of Pro Cannabis Media Productions, Jimmy Young, who celebrated his 67th birthday this week. By coincidence, the third annual THC Golf Open happened to be held on Tuesday the 3rd, which was his birthday. And the event was the idea of the CEO and founder of the Cannabis Creative Group, Seth Warby, who recruited Ann Brum from a joint venture to run the event with his group. Jimmy and his new business partner, Eric Williamson, managed to live stream to 9 social media platforms simultaneously, showing the capabilities of technology now that access has been eased. Here's Jimmy.
Thanks, Alaina. I was certainly flattered with the response of our news team, who took the time out and shared some of their birthday wishes with me. I appreciate that. And Eric Williamson, who allowed me to share some highlights of my 30-year sportscaster career on TV in New England. Anyway, Seth Warby and Ann Brum were the forces behind the event at the THC Open that was held at the Blissful Meadows Golf Course in Uxbridge, Massachusetts.
What people don't realize is how much work goes into an event like this. And logistically, that's just not my strength, Jimmy. So I'm an ideas guy, and this was my idea, but I need Ann to execute it, and she does it flawlessly. So it's fantastic.
First of all, congratulations. You've put on another great event. You must be excited.
Thank you. There's no I in team, so this took quite the team, but very, very grateful to be able to curate and have something like this here. Very excited.
It was a great day for golfers in the Massachusetts cannabis business community. And of course, as birthdays go, it was pretty cool to announce our new app, PCMTV, available to download at the App Store or Google Play. It's free. Plus, you talk about some of the other changes to our content production group, including the launch of Cannabis Coast to Coast News and a new logo, and our Tell Us Your Cannabis Story promotion, where you can earn yourself a feature on a future news show. And you could probably even pick up a few prizes along the way. We're still finalizing that. So everyone involved in this venture over the past few years, especially the correspondents who contribute to this show every week, I sincerely thank you all. And next year is going to be the best one yet. I'm PCM founder Jimmy Young.
That'll do it for the first edition of Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I'm Alaina Pinto. Remember, it's a whole new world of weed out there. Use it responsibly. We'll see you next time.
We are Pro Cannabis Media.